Awesome. Nick's saying something. Let's see.
Right now.
Awesome. All right, then. Thanks for joining, guys. Today we're going to dive into the second stage of the alchemical process, Taurus coagulation. Um, and make sure you guys can see my screen. Can anyone tell me if you can? Hello? Are you able to see the
Chris,
screen?
we can see you.
What? Okay, I'll just keep going. So coagulation, Taurus, is the crystallization of the I am. In Aries, we have we talked about how in calcination is the thermal process that involves heating a solid substance to a high temperature without completely melting it. The goal of calcination was to alter the chemical or physical properties of the substance. And we've learned that reconnecting with one's natural state of being, the I am awareness, is what creates this inner fire that catapults the spiritual processes. And that's the awareness of the automated instinctual energies that are the negative effects of the material realm. So, as we know, the material realm is the negative polarity of the positive polarity of spirit. So spirit and matter are actually one. This physical realm is a spiritual realm, just the negative polarity of that, and therefore it's densified. And that takes us into Taurus, coagulation, which is the crystallization or the materialization or the union of the fixed and the volatile. It is it is the ice of the fire. If Aries is the I am, the fire, the Taurus would be the crystallization or the ice of that, because it's the crystallization of the individuality. As we spoke before, the essence goes through a transmutation on its descent into the physical realm, where the essence acquires the I am, and then distills down and crystallizes and begins to understand that it has. So you go from I am to I have. So this crystallization or materialization of the ego is what's necessary for the individualization of the souls from the pleroma or from the counter space or from the all of the universal co- combination of all of the intelligences. So like the monad. First, there's the monad, the one, then the dyad. From the dyad comes the four, the three, and then the four, and then the four creates everything, as the Upanishad says. So these transformations of consciousness is what is creating the individual entities. So that's why you have God, and then you have the angels, and then you have the individuals, and then you have the individuals that are crystallization of the essence in the physical realms to acquire knowledge of good and evil. That's why it's called biting the apple. Whenever a soul takes a dive into the physical universe, it allows itself to acquire the knowledge of itself, and in this sense is a coagulated process of crystallization of consciousness from I am unity to actually becoming an individual. So this mainly this is shown uh, in the human body kabbalistically in the throat chakra. We have the throat chakra here, the 16 petaled lotus. And this is why sound is a gateway or a portal or the door, which is related to the da'ath on the tree of life, which is related to the throat. And this is why words manifest. And this is why in the beginning of the esoteric journey in 2012, we were learning already, that, or even beyond that, uh, words manifest, that our words are bonds. So essentially, we were learning about the dynamics of words and how words crystallize, coagulate that volatile material or cardinal energy of Aries into a fixed state. So it takes an idea and creates form, whereas and then Gemini plays it out. So you're seeing the energy manipulation of consciousness, and if you understand this transmutation in this process, then you'll understand how the mind of God works, or essentially the mind of the demiurge, the mind that creates the physical universes, and understand how each individual being thinks on different levels, and how we can actually quantify and qualify our thinking to align with the higher hierarchies of beings and intelligences that operate and rule this physical realm. So, one thing to do that is by what Samael Yor would teach would be activating the larynx, the throat chakra. It's very important to activate the throat chakra because in doing so, you activate the inner ear. They say we should listen more than we speak. With the throat chakra, right? We lose energy by overly talking. That's why in the Tao Te Ching it says, the teachers of the path are kind of like blabbermouths because we're have to point to the way by speaking a lot, whereas the truth is actually in stillness and silence. So within silence and stillness, we can actually envelop and intuitively activate this consciousness. And that's why in the calcination phase of Aries, we talked about intuition, whereas here we're going to actually talk about the inner ear and how activating the throat chakra activates the inner hearing. The inner hearing is what we've also learned kind of early on the path as well. It's not necessarily that you hear voices. However, some people have said in dangerous situations they've heard voices, an actual voice from out of nowhere speaking to them or guiding them out of danger. It's also known as hearing impressions, but being able to pick up on subtle vibrations by attuning yourself to a particular frequency and being able to hear the actual astral tonalities, being able to hear from beyond the physical realm. And that's tapping into the understanding that you are like a radio transmitter and that you're able to tune into various frequencies rather than becoming a medium and having an entity take over your nervous system in a passive way. You could be active by increasing the voltage of your nervous system, placing your attention on the frequency that you're trying to receive information from, and with an activated throat chakra be able to hear the sound of the spheres, or be able to hear your thoughts in a more condensed, concentrated voice. Let's just say that. One way to activate the throat chakra is by the mantra like elephant. So you would simply sit postured straight with your spine erect. You would place your tongue behind the teeth to close the electrical circuit. You would gaze slightly up at the horizon, correctly straight towards the horizon, but a little bit upward, so that your gaze is slightly into, you would say, the horizon. A lot of people in the Bhagavad Gita thinks it said cross-eyed, but it actually doesn't say going cross-eyed. It's a subtle glance forward into the distance. And then by activating your smile muscles, you open up that gate in the back of your head, the vagus nerve. You could try that now just by simply smiling. You can see that your ear muscles here in the back tense. It actually opens up the energy gate. So you do that and you breathe in, and then you do the mantra on the exhale. And you do all the entire exhale, and you do this repeatedly for 10, 20, 30 minutes, depending on how deep you want to go into it. And this activates that throat center. Another one, if you know it also has the vowel sound is the Western or Kabbalistic esoteric throat chakra mantra, Yod He Vod He Elohim. Yod He Vod He Elohim. Yod He Vod He Elohim. And this vibration of the throat chakra helps to activate the larynx for the energy, because where attention goes, energy flows. So when you're placing your attention on the throat chakra, as well as opening those inner gates, as well as riding the sound wave, like I like to call it, is basically place your attention on the inner sound itself. So observe yourself doing this action as if you're looking at it from a third point perspective. When you combine this, it puts you in a meditative state where you actually separate from the observed and the observer. And you're able to the witness is able to come out of the bottle of the physical body of consciousness, and you're able to actually see yourself as if you're standing, kind of almost as if you're standing by yourself, not literally, but as a sense of feeling, of sense of perception, allows you to waken up those inner faculties, be able to hear those spheres. So let's get back to, let me share the screen again. All right. So Taurus conjugation, I have embodiment. So think about consciousness going from I am to I have. Um, Essentially, that's an obvious transmutation of consciousness, because consciousness not only did in the beginning was an I am, it started to understand that it has an individuality, has an individual form. The essence is not just a floating head in space, floating head in the ethereal universe of nothingness. We actually came into this physical realm for a particular reason, and that reason was to actually individualize our consciousness, to create a purpose, to understand pleasure and pain, to understand attraction, aversion, to understand repulsion and attraction, to understand what it's like to navigate this physical realm. We have to have a physical body. So not only do we have to have an I am consciousness, we also have to have it at I have a body. The realization is, oh, I'm not a body, I have a body. Welcome to coagulation, because that's the meaning of that transmutation. This is how the zodiac maps out your life, not only on a physical level day to day or on a seasonal level, but also on an internal psychological level of the soul. Back in the day, it was called astropsychology, the first form of psychology. So now chemical functions: coagulation, freezing, cooling, stabilizing, crystallizing, crystallification, because the word was made flesh. And that's funny, because the word was first, the vibration came first. The word stabilized creation, it gave it structure. And that's where we take our attention to the cube. One of the occult symbols of the Neoplatonists were told the students to meditate upon the cube, to understand the structure of the world, to understand that there needs to be a container for consciousness to inhabit, to coagulate an individual soul, to be able to transcend physical matter, which incubated it, and allow it to rise into the eternal glory of its eternal nature back home to the heavens. So, in the lab of alchemy, in the alchemical lore of the ancient laboratories, after calcination burns matter to ash, the substance cools and crystallizes into a new stable form. That's exactly what consciousness loves to do. Consciousness wants to inhabit these physical forms to like a sarcophagus and become a pharaoh or a king, a priest or a priestess or a queen over the physical body, so that it can unite the sun and the moon within itself, or the spirit and the soul, the creator and the created. There's a part of us that's created, there's a part of us that's the creator. And our goal is to save or salve the created part of us. The personality, we have a huge love for this physical personal identity that we're actually manifesting here. And it's our goal to allow it to be Christified. So Aries burns, well, it says burns identity. I meant to say basically it burns into it basically incinerates into an identity, because that fire becomes ice, and the ice and fire collide. Like Alvin Boy Kuhn said, when the fires from heaven, or the fires from the upper triad of the tree of life, or the spiritual fire, descends into its negative polarity of the water and creates that vapor, and then that vapor is more like the ice or the frost. That out of that becomes structure, and that creates the form, and that's where you get the cube. So the philosophical ice, or the frozen mercury, or the crystalline dew, volatile spiritual force captured and stabilized. And that's why we need to take our thoughts that we receive from the higher mind and capture them and stabilize them. Because this is also showing us how to go about the thought process, and how our ideas can trickle down the tree of life from the supernal realms into crystallized form. And we can give give form to this through the larynx. The larynx is the tool to give form to the unformed. Because don't forget, it's also a misnomer to say unformed, because the astral realm is actually formed. It's preformed matter, prima materia. The astral light is what creates the physical realm. It's just a physical realm's a reflection of that light that's just mutable. But we have to come into this fixed realm consciousness. So astrotheological symbolism, of course, the bull, the ox, or the sacred cow. You can see Moses says to stop worshiping the cow and move into Aries, because we're overcoming the material desires and activating the higher mind, or the cerebrum. And the cerebrum was the first built in the womb. The nervous system in the cerebrum was Hiram Abiff, the first one who built the temple. It's also the first physical part of the body that's created from the top down: Aries, Taurus, Gemini, all the way to Pisces. That's the sacred cow or the sacred bull, and that's why essentially we get all those vibrations from those words, and those words are the dynamic mechanism that manifest and give structure to everything that we see. So we are in a constant transition from calcination of Aries into coagulation of Taurus because that creative life force stabilizes into physical form. And we have to master strength through stillness. So not always being on the go like Aries, but also taking some time to be still and grounded, contain the power of the bull. And that is utilizing the throat chakra, which we mentioned, that you have to allow your instinctual energy to transmute into the nectar of love in the heart. That you feel that wonderful heart feeling instead of that lustful, energetic, impulsive feeling. You feel more of a warm, heart-centered feeling. This also can be raised to the throat chakra, a more subtle feeling here, a feeling of epiphany or a feeling of heightened state of awareness. Almost your thoughts flow perfectly and you're able to just tap into information and explain things without putting much thought to it. There's a time on the journey where you have to really think about what you say or think about what you're going to do. Then there's a time where you that coagulates into being able to tap in to these this information on the higher level rather than being a medium. You then just create a channel of information and able to express that information, because it's one thing to be able to know it and think about it and conceptualize it. That's Aries. You need to be able to explain it, to be able to speak it, to be able to conceptualize it, and to manifest it practically. That's why Taurus is all about practicality. And creation happens through vibration. And that's why humming, chanting, and toning the sacred names stimulate the throat chakra. And that helps to anchor the consciousness into the body. So humming like hum or creates nitric oxide buildup in the navel cavity, which stimulates the pineal gland, which stimulates the pituitary gland, which bridges the gap between the positive and negative polarities, which creates a increase of nitric oxide, which increases blood flow, which then allows you to tap into higher states of consciousness by the release of the DMT rather than the melatonin, because your body's an alchemical laboratory. And when you live how you should or live how God intended, then the right things and the right chemicals manifest at the right time to help catapult your physical body and become a mutant. And what I mean by mutant is we go from cardinal, fixed to mutable. We come to cardinal spirit into the fixed world, and we become a mutant by transmuting the physical atom into the spiritual Mikael through this power of spiritual transmutation and transformation. And Taurus is where the word becomes flesh. We study a lot about this in the teachings of George W. Carey. George W. Carey, the God man, the Word made flesh, and understand how that seed that descends from the brain, from the cerebrum, goes through transformation throat chakra and goes through transformation in the solar plexus and goes through various transformations on its way down the spinal cord. In the same way, the soul's descending, or the spark descending from the great I am, descends and makes certain alchemical transmutations on its way down as well. And the spirit descends into matter through the vibratory factors, is able to manifest an individual soul, the I am consciousness. And you can think about this when you've had your first I am awareness dawning when you were younger. And then you could think about when you had your Taurus coagulation, when you realized you have a body. You know, you are a body, you have a body. So Aries, the identity. And this is all on a physical level, because don't forget, we go through these 12 stages of alchemy on multiple times throughout our life. The first time around is just simply realizing our individual self in the universe as an actual physical entity. But as we grow spiritually, these processes start over, and realizing I am, rather than just I am an physical entity, we realize I am spirit. But then you say, Taurus, I have a body. Gemini, I think, right? So we we could understand that as the seasons are manipulated and change, and how we go through the cosmic clock, uh, we go through it on various different levels. It's even safe to say that we're actually going through all 12 alchemical processes at once. Hence, Leo rules the digestive stage of the map of alchemical process, the king. The lion rules, the sun rules the whole alchemical process in and of itself. Of course, the sun is the master alchemist, aka the soul. The soul is the master alchemist, transmuting spiritual structures, physical, spiritual ideas and archetypes, and stabilizing them and humming them, or speaking them into existence. And that's the secret of the lost word of Freemasonry. It represents the original vibration of creation. And you can still hear that original vibration of creation if you sit in silence and listen to that simple hum within the brain. In the Upanishads, it says, depending on what level of consciousness you are, it may sound like 1,000 wasps, or a waterfall, or a hum, or a chant. Some even hear a gong. Everyone hears a different seed sound within themselves by developing the inner ear. Inner ear governs balance, orientation, spiritual awareness, and resonance, and it tunes consciousness to the cosmic rhythm of the spheres, and you're able to download information without putting much thought to it. That's basically how all the great speakers of the past were able to do this. They activate their inner ear through intense practice, sometimes gift from God, just talents from God or talents from the universe, and some people develop the inner ear through advanced esoteric practices, being able to articulate the unseen into the seen by giving things imagery. And that's where Alvin Boy Kuhn taught the mysteries of cryptograms or cryptography, and understanding how everything we see, not only biblically or in the ancient texts, but what we see is what we hear, is what we feel, is what we see insightfully through our intuition. So we can see how intuitive insights from the realm and how we crystallize the form in this physical realm through the transmutation of ideas. And sound stabilizes the nervous system, which is the receiver of those ideas. So anchoring the word, or om, and merging om with the sound that you hear between your ears when it's quiet, the sound of silence, you're able to access that cosmic ocean and swim in it. They say, there's a quote that said, the waters that the insane person drowns in is the same waters the mystic or religious person swims in. That's very true, because the void, or the portal, or these access points must be approached with caution, because they are gateways into other dimensions. So, of course, Taurus correspond to Da'ah, the gateway on the tree of life, which is the throat chakra, the hidden throat chakra, the invisible bridge, or the door, the portal we enter in through sound vibration. As same way we manifest through sound, same way we exit through sound. And that's why Taurus governs the descent of spirit into matter, and the word becomes flesh through this gateway. So that's why it was prescribed in ancient times to chant, the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, or to chant. And Samael, your recommended chanting mantra, full inhale and full exhale, in the beginning for at least an hour a day. I feel like activating the throat chakra is one of the most important throat chakras to focus on, especially in a time where a lot of people are going through hyperthyroidism or thyroid issues, especially, and understanding that the holy mineral of the larynx, or the throat chakra, the thyroid, is holy iodine, and iodine is very important, found in sea moss, kelp, etc., able to help stimulate. And you'll learn in these lectures that each one of our chakras has a particular mineral that helps it flourish. And also, if you take too much of a mineral, it can imbalance it, etc. because things are always expanded. We know that there's the 12 main minerals, but there's actually more minerals than the 12 because we have to understand the deacons and understand the various things. And we're doing extensive research on the esoteric biochemistry. And by doing that, we're going to be furthering our understanding on some of these other important minerals as well, as 12 being the foundation. So, yeah, the saying with words and speaking things into existence has to blend, the three, uh, to have the idea and the intention and the will. So if you're the maxim of the magician is to know, to dare, to will, and to be silent. And what that basically means is it's utilizing the four signs of the zodiac, four fixed signs to for a magical axiom to be able to speak things into existence and to understand that words are very powerful and to understand that to banish certain negative ideas or thought forms, it's important to develop words of protection, to develop some type of word that gives you comfort, that gives you, that's why a lot of people say, they feel like they're being attacked or in sleep paralysis by demons and they say the name of Jesus and it disappears, or, it's because they that word carries power. The name of God carries power. The name is the God. God is the name because the word was made flesh. The word was in the beginning. So that word, that sound vibration, can actually take you to those higher dimensions. So if you sit there and chant Hare Krishna, or Ram, 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 or Om, or maybe Our Father who art in heaven. You're utilizing the throat chakra, you're utilizing vibration, you're utilizing intention, you're utilizing the breath, and this is forming an alchemical laboratorial operation that's manifesting ether, manifesting spirit, manifesting the astral light, which is what we use as a mirror to distill and grasp images from the realm above us that we can't quite see because it's too foggy. That's why we have to ignite the inner lamp of the magician, and to be able to peer and see into what they say is unseen. So, so after Aries ignites the spinal column, as we explained in the previous lecture, Aries potassium phosphate ignites the cerebral spinal fire, and that spinal fire has to climb each vertebrae by vertebrae. That spinal fire of Aries has to climb. That calcination process takes a lot of time. Whereas Taurus, that vibration, that the word, not only is the air of Gemini transmuting energy, but also the voice and vibration of Taurus and the larynx is also manifesting energy. Um, so um, if you feel like you are having some issues, sodium sulfate, Taurocell salt will help in regards to when you feel like you're not able to express things correctly. Sodium sulfate or sulfuricum, known as the water eliminator, mucus eliminator, eliminating the mucus around the throat, which is a symbol of blockage, and help you to express your ideas in a more sustained manner, and to understand that um, when you develop the throat chakra and you're able to master the art of communication, you're able to basically help to influence others for the better. Now, black magicians, right? They master the art of communication, but they use it for manipulation. But when you're not a black magician, you're doing things for goodness sake. Um, you're using your words to influence others for the better. So you're constantly using your words to help elevate those who are feel damned or facing tribulation or facing discomfort or facing some type of psychosis, or facing some type of disaster. What is it that we can do? Like if someone is, about to do something very bad or something like that, what is it that you do? You usually talk them down, right? There's one way. I mean, yeah, you can restrain them, but sometimes the restraint doesn't work, right? And when restraint and physicality don't work, words can be more powerful than the physical, uh, you can actually use words to change people's lives and to change people's thoughts. And the goal of the alchemist, alchemical gold, is to be able to fixate his words in a way that makes the world a more beautiful place. And that's why Taurus, ruled by Venus, uh, and that is why we're supposed to speak beauty into the world and to have a gentle voice and to speak truth and to speak in balance and to be able to sustain our awareness and our thought processes long enough to be able to speak thoroughly without putting much thought to it. That's why the great master Jesus, or the Son, the Spirit of the Son, the soul, the word of God, says to us to take no thought. When we take no thought, we're able to ride the wave of spirit and be able to articulate the unseen, and make it apparent to others, as if we're giving sight to the blind. Think of it that way. So, coagulation creates form. Fire becomes the ice. Spirit becomes the structure. Awakening becomes embodiment. The I am becomes embodied. Taurus equals the crystallization of that consciousness. And the slow, steady humming, or om, engages the throat chakra and resonates that inner ear, allowing you to pick up on the whispers of the wind. And that's where we understand how we have to understand elementals and angels and various different structures and different entities, and we'll dive into that in future lectures. But the whispering wind is, with the ancient indigenous people understood that, you can hear messages through the air. The wind speaks to you through, and it's not necessarily that it speaks to you in a voice, but it's just that sometimes a breeze or a gust of wind can affirm so much. Sometimes it could be so affirming, it can help you when it comes to directing your consciousness. If you have a pressing issue or a pressing consciousness, to familiarize yourself with the wind element, um, because the air is what is the platform of sound and vibration. It's kind of like the mediator. So the whole goal is for the essence and that I am conscious that we are, I am, or Brahman, or Abraham, I am, to become fixed and permanent. And not that it wasn't before, but permanently conscious and self-aware, not just a floating essence, just like a primordial sperm or a primordial essence, before you became an individual, before you had your first I am, you were just an essence in the pleroma of God, or the highest spiritual kingdoms, basically in a deep hibernation or a deep slumber. But that spark became a flame, and I am. The I am was realized, and now on your descent into the physical realm, from Aries being the fire sign, Taurus being the earth sign, you're becoming fixed and permanent. So hallelujah. We're all here to become fixed and permanent, and not permanent necessarily in the physical, but permanent in a sense of an I am higher individuality that was forged through the four elements, descended through the seven planets, and soundboarded off the 12 zodiacal aspects to create a wonderful individualized person like yourselves, both male and female. And we rise up out of these sarcophagus or cages or wombs or whatever philosophical motif you put on them, are able to come to the higher realization of thought, because that's the next one we'll learn in the next state of alchemical process of Gemini, how we become fixed spirit, um, and how it's fixation, even though that Gemini is mutable, and we'll explain that in the next lecture, essentially. But the main goal is to realize how the word was made flesh, how the word is made flesh, and how the word is the substantial accumulation of love and wisdom, right? We have father love, father wisdom, mother love. Like Thomas H. Burgoyne says, in the beginning there's the one, the monad. The monad is a by automation creates a beautiful reflection of itself, the divine love of woman, right? So the divine masculine creates a reflection unit of physical of divine woman, the love of the universe. So we have love and wisdom, and out of love and wisdom comes the word, or the Christ, knowledge, da'ath, which is the supernal aspect, which then has to manifest through us, or the heart chakra, through Tiphereth. Tiphereth is over the heart, below Da'ath. I would tend everyone to pull up an image of the tree of life when they have time, and to thoroughly study the correspondences of the various Sephiroth on the tree of life and relating it to the human body. One of the best places to access that is I think Sandos has one of the best graphics with the overlay of the tree of life on the human body. Understand where these various different spiritual portals, our spiritual spheres of consciousness, exist within the physical body, and how they're accessed through attention. So, all spiritual and physical entities and universes are created by sound. Sound is the most subtle of the elements of earth, fire, water, and air. Look no further than sound itself, because if you ride the wave of sound, you can definitely access the higher realms and access higher knowledge, because you're basically bypassing the volatile nature of the elements. That's why in the Upanishads, a lot of the times Brahman, being the ether or sound, is always outrunning fire, outrunning earth, outrunning water. All the devas and demigods can't keep up with Lord Brahman, the supreme, the spirit supreme. And once we know that we come from the Spirit Supreme, we also can walk on water. We also can heal the blind. We also can heal the sick through our words, right? Through the voice. We command the elements. We command earth. We command earthquakes. That means not only like being able to like command earthquakes, like some really high level. If you're able to really control your four elements, you can. But now in the age of Kali Yuga, that's very rare. But generally speaking, controlling earthquake is controlling your inner, controlling turmoil of life. Sometimes earthquakes happen in our life metaphorically. Can you tame that? Can you tame the whirlwinds of thoughts and rushing thoughts and crazy delusions and all the divisive thought control, brainwashing, mind control that's going on in the system? Can you calm that storm? Can you heal the blind? That means all the masses that are, can't see the truth. Can you help awaken them? Can you give them sight? Or will you be just like the evil ones who keep them in ignorance and keep them blind? We have to say, for those who have eyes to see, let them see, and those who have ears to hear, let them hear, and band together and help those who can't see and hear, to heal them from their spiritual sickness. So now for the next few minutes, just wanted to tap into a quick meditation on the mantra E. And after doing so, I'll open it up to questions. So all we do is sit erect. We sit on our chairs slightly at the end. We put our legs 90-degree angle down. We pull our back up straight like that. Put your shoulders back. Tilt your head slightly forward or slightly up so it's straight. Do the Mona Lisa smile, where you slightly smile. Start the full four-fold breath, which is in 4, hold 4, out 4, in 4, hold 4, out 4, hold out 4, 1, breathe in 4, hold in 4. And remember, when you're breathing in, your belly's going out, and when you're breathing out, your belly's going in, crushing your spine almost. Not crushing it, but going towards your spine on the way out. Then tongue at the roof of the mouth. Mudra, that means your index finger touching your thumb. Tongue at the roof of the mouth. Mona Lisa smile, slightly smile, without really smiling. So just flex those ear muscles like you're smiling within, the great inner smile. Now, turn the light around by placing the attention that you have on my voice and the external reality right now. Place that on your central nervous system, which is your spinal column. Now, as you breathe in on that next breathe in your stomach, then the mid part of your chest, and then over your shoulders. So you're breathing really deeply in, getting all those lung cells activated, and upon the exhale, and that will build up a lot of nitric oxide and be able to definitely help to vibrate that thyroid gland and to help you secrete the correct amount of chemicals within your body, um, to help maintain balance in your speaking, to master the art of communication, and to be able to positively influence others, which is what we're all here to do. So I know the lecture ended a little bit early. I know I try to pack as much information as possible. Hope everyone enjoyed this lecture, and now I'm just opening it up to some interaction since this is a group. We don't get a lot of time to spend together, so we might as well use it to interact and ask questions and learn from each other experience or any practical help or anything they need. So, yeah, Nick, let's take it from here, man. If you have anything you want to say or if anyone has any questions.
I have a question, if I may.
Hi.
Hey, you said to live as we should, as it was planned for us. What do you mean by that?
Basically that the creator, through love and wisdom, through law and order, through mercy and justice, through the law of beauty, right? There's an intended way in which, now it's not to be like belligerently say like, there's a way that everyone should live, that we should all live the same. But generally speaking, for example, like you take it for example, our breathing. We are supposed to breathe from our belly just like a baby does, right? Or like our tongue at the roof of the mouth. How does a baby sleep? How does a baby rest the tongue at the top of the mouth? So what it means is we live as planned or intended, which just means that some of these algorithms have become disharmonized to where now maybe instead of breathing how God or creator or universe or yourself or conscious planned for you to breathe correctly, now you're breathing uptight from your chest because of anxiety. Or maybe you've let your tongue fall and now it's not at the roof of your mouth. So you're not getting enough electricity to your brain. Maybe you don't utilize the energy of grounding anymore because now you're wearing rubber sole shoes. So now your feet are not on the ground. So the creator intended for you to live naturally, healthy, happy, healthy, and wise. But now those plans have got aborted. So that's what I meant by that.
All right, lovely. Thank you very much. Also, you said universe talks to us through wind. This is actually amazing what you said, because I gone through a quite difficult time in my life, but I'm coming out of it. And what helps, going for a walk with my dog. And it's true what you said. I would think about something, and then suddenly I would hear birds, or a butterfly would fly in front of my face, or the wind would just whoosh over me. It's amazing. So thank you for saying that. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, of course, right? The sound is so important to our development to trees. The wind blowing on trees opens up that inner symphony within, and just being able to hear like messages and be able to hear like, also I've heard a lot of stories of like people about to be in a very dangerous situation where they hear an actual audible voice. So there's all the different ways that the sylphs or the wind spirits and also wind angels, right? As Rudolf Steiner said, angels are made of fire and air. So they're not made of physical matter. They've transcended earth and water body. They've extracted the alchemical earth and the spiritual water, but now they just exist as aerial beings. So one day we will also exist in aerial beings, and that's why we love air so much. Like air is like the true mediator between all the elements. So
Super.
it's a blessing.
My sign is in air. But also a last question, if I may. I'm sorry, I don't want to hog the line.
No, please go ahead.
You also said that something helps express ideas. Did you say it was sodium sulfate?
Yeah,
Is
sodium
that
sulfate, Taurus. Yeah, the Taurus cell salt. It's going to
okay?
help you express your ideas more. Sodium sulfate, Taurus, number 11, is going to help you to articulate and to be able to be expressive in your throat chakra. And also the mantra, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Or yeah, all those sounds are going to help. And iodine.
Iodine. Do you know what? When I was a little, I was actually diagnosed with a hyperactive thyroid, and I was giving, I was medicated for that since I was 2 till about 15. And I remember when there was this, well, so-called Chernobyl. Explosion and a leak of radiation. I don't know whether you recall that from the history. All children at school were given iodine. So I remember that because I remember taking that iodine at school. But whether it was iodine, I don't know, because now my world is switched upside down, so I actually don't know what to believe.
No, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But iodine, yeah, iodine is for thyroid. I always was told that since I was a little. So thank you for that, for confirming that actually, because I wasn't sure whether that was true.
Yeah, of course. I like oogles. I think there's a good brand name, Oogles iodine. It's also found in kelp and Irish sea moss. Those are good places to get it as well. So
Lovely.
thanks.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Yeah, of course.
Chris, just if I may, just one tiny question. Earlier on, you mentioned the demiurge. I'm paraphrasing here. So the exercises would help us access the mind of God, or the mind of, or connect with the demiurge. I just wanted to make sure that we have the same view there. The demiurge would be, though, the lower being, because the big creator of the universe is one level higher than that. Okay, so we understand it correctly in the sense that it's in the Nag Hammadi and in Greek philosophy. So that this is how he used the demiurge, but you really mean also the creator himself.
I feel like there's different aspects to it. I feel like we inherit the divine capacity of the true, undivided creator. I feel like the divided creators of our mind. So we have like our higher mind and our just regular mind. You can like equate our mind like that we use every day is like the demiurge mind. It organizes, splits things in half. It tries to be logical. It tries to make sense of things. It tries to it always has like a bone to pick with someone. It's just it's all going. It's just like super automated. It's like a created being that was like it was supposed to be created. God created like a lesser version of himself to manage creation in a way that's like, I guess, exciting, right? Because if it wasn't for the demiurge, right, we couldn't really create an imperfect world. And the imperfect world was important for our souls to incarnate into to gain development. So by descending into this imperfect world, there had to be some type of creative, the mind, right? There's the higher mind of God. You could say it's like God's automated business. He's hired a manager to manage something, not to necessarily cause turmoil or imprison us, but to basically pull the switch on, why things aren't just perfectly fine here. It kind of helps create that, like basically the prism, right? The white light has to go through the prism and splits into 7 to give controversy, to give flavor, to give this ability to transcend duality. So I believe that that yes, to access the demiurge mind is important sometimes to understand the fundamental logical laws of organization, principles of creation, but accessing the true creators through the heart. Or as even Manly P. Hall said, we have the father wisdom God is in the pineal gland, and the mother of love God is in the heart. Um, so that's where we have to access our true spiritual parents, which are above the demiurge. But we have to understand how the demiurge works because he works in like 6 cycles, right? We could predict the demiurge. God is unpredictable. The true creator, right? The true spirit of the Father, right? He's unpredictable. We never know, what he's capable of doing. And that's why Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is always doing something unpredictable. Whereas a demiurge, it's almost like, oh, yeah, karma, yes and that. He's gonna get it, or it's coming. Like you definitely know what he's gonna do. That kind of makes sense. It's kind of like it's a very theatrical.
Thank you so much. This is a very good explanation. Appreciate it. Thank you, Christopher.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, that's all we have for today. If anyone has any more questions or anyone has any experiences or any questions on the meditation or like me to walk through anything or recommend anything, let me know. But any other than that, I feel like just interact amongst yourselves and see how everyone's doing.
Hi, Christopher. Thank you so
Hey, Laura.
much.
Yeah, of course.
Amazing. And I'm just trying to digest it all. I did have, well, I was wondering, I'm not sure how even to formulate my question. But when we look at the structure of each tissue salt in relation to, I don't know if that's the right way, but when we're looking at the platonic solids and how that works, would visualization of the platonic solids help in the process of it all?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's like a loaded question because it's so important. That's why it's just so important to do that. The platonic solids, meditation on the cube, the sphere, and understanding geometry in that way, and also the point is in Western esotericism some of the highest fundamental meditations that actually help take you from Malkuth to Kether. So yeah, Laura, you're 100% spot on.
Yeah.
Meditating on the platonic, and what you're supposed to do is while you're meditating on, say, a cube, to understand and jot down while you're doing the fourfold breath, keep it in your mind, conceptualize the cube. I would go more in detail with this, but basically, you're supposed to understand and jot down thoughts that come to your mind of ideas. And I don't want to give those to you because it's personal to everyone. When you meditate on these solids or these different various, earth, water, air, fire, platonic shapes, it's going to actually download information intuitively, and it's going to
Mhm.
expand your awareness of God and
Right.
self for sure. So that's beautiful. Thanks so much.
Wow. No, thank you. That's amazing. Do we know what I haven't looked into it, but the structure or um the form that I don't know if this is the right question either, but the form that the tissue salts have, or
Yeah, that's
yeah, that's
interesting.
interesting.
I haven't really studied the form of the cell salts, but I have been curious about expanding from there's the 12 foundation, but there's also other important minerals too to account for, like for example, zinc and
Yeah.
being help with Mars and other certain minerals that I'm starting to understand and try to expand this science even more. Me and a couple
Mhm.
of friends are extensively researching cell salts and trying to continue the work of Dr. George W. Carey, Dr. Schussler, and all the greats, Inez and etc. So there's a lot of work being done right now to help expand on some of these works that were done in like the 1800s. So
Wow, that's exciting. Um, for the so Earth, thank you, Christopher.
yeah, of
And
course.
for the fire being like a tetrahedron, right? Is that so? That's then it
Pyramid.
goes to
think the fire is the pyramid, or is that the tetrahedron,
The
right?
pyramid, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've been working through a visualization thing using pyramids initially. So is in that, I guess, is like the best um, shape to use for the initiation process, right?
Yeah, the
Or no?
pyramid. Yeah, so with the cube, you're imagining it in front of you, and understanding how a line becomes a cube, and understanding containment and container and vessel, and understanding surface, and understanding solidity, and understanding grounding. Whereas the pyramid, you're understanding the apex, the point of the pyramid coming down, and how spirit manifests in flesh and kind of forms that square, initial square. So fire comes down, and then that's why the cube is below, right, earth, and then it stacks up, and then the top is
Mm,
the, even on like cathedrals and whatnot. Very interesting. See how the whole point of them is that the thought, when you think about an image, they're cryptograms, right? So that's why even religious text, the images are so important, because the images and the thought processes, by just imagining the sequence and the shape of the different figures, uh, brings you to the conclusions that they're intended for. It's crazy. That's the magic
mm,
behind it. So, like, if I were to sit here and explain like the thoughts that might come to you when you visualize the pyramid, or the thoughts, it would interrupt the intuitive process of
mm,
you or anyone else, because it's personal, but it's actually universal because of the collective unconscious. So
mm.
it's going to be exciting to meditate and pick, starting with the cube, and then the sphere, and then going all the way to the tetrahedron, and see kind of what thoughts come to you, and then write them down in your journal. And then it's going to be so awesome, because you're going to be like, wow, that's crazy. And it's going to lead you to just being able to organize your thoughts in a way like you never before.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, really appreciate that. It's very helpful.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, of course. Anyway, Nick, how are you doing, man? How's everything going? Well, yep. Does anyone have any other questions? Or any, it doesn't have to be questions, actually. Does anyone want to share anything?
No, Christopher, you just got me thinking about how the Catholic Church did use the best artistic talent at the world to create images that people reflect on and interact. I'm just calculating the kind of effect that really has on that level.
Yeah, yeah, of course, cryptography, right? Just the images, even like just take for the Bible, for example. Every story could be a picture, and those pictures are worth 1,000 words. And that's why the stories were like outlined in pictures. That's why the Srimad Bhagavatam is so illustrative. The pictures, the expression on their face, what they're doing, the colors, the shape, the cathedrals are supposed to be like microcosmic universes, right? They're God. There's this sweet, like as Swedenborg taught, right? And Thomas H. Burgoyne, there's three worlds. There's the spiritual world, the astral world, and the physical world. And it's like the Mormons, the three parts of the temple. There's the terrestrial kingdom, the other kingdom, and then the celestial kingdom. And just like in our body, we have the lower part of our body, the middle part of our body, and our higher part of the body. So the cathedrals are miniature universes that are separate this triad and show how everything is constructed. And basically the temples, the cathedral, like the physical body is a miniature of the cathedral is a miniature of the universe, and just basically showing the kingdom or the kingdom of the creator and how it manifests through the Taurus field and creates the correct shapes and structures. And then we mirror that in our creative abilities, especially when we were aligned in the greater times when these buildings were actually created at a place of higher minded consciousness, where we were able to reflect the divine nature of reality. Remember, the physical realm is a crystallization of the astral realm, and we'll learn more about this in the mysteries of Pisces, because remember, if there's a fish going up and a fish going down, tied at the tails, the subconscious mind, the conscious mind, the dream world, and the non-dream world. Um, and we can see that there's input and output going on at the same time. While things going on in the astral plane right now, people, places, and things going on in the astral realm right now, that's also trickling down and manifesting as physical behavior, physical events, physical happenings. as well as when we build something or create something or do something in the physical realm, it also inputs into the great matrix of the creator and starts manifesting that in the astral realm. That's why rituals and temples and holy sites and buildings, etc., are so important, is because the resonance and remnants of energy and how energy can never be destroyed. It's just transferred and transmuted. So that's what the mysteries of Jacob's ladder resemble. There's always energies manifesting and on manifesting and occurring at the same time. In fact, everything's happening at the same time. And I think that's a great way to understand that, to end this lecture, as well as with those, to meditate on those words, that everything's actually happening at the same time, which is now. So
Yeah, that was well spoken. I'm just thinking back. I visited so many cathedrals, and last week I was in Notre Dame in Paris, and I just that the light pattern alone with the blue shift and red shift windows of the big rosette certainly speaks a different language of energy, so to speak. Some purpose that must have gotten lost over the centuries and misappropriated ever since the Gothic revival later on. So yeah, I will ponder on this. Thank you. You opened my eyes there to something that I didn't see before. Thank you.
yeah, of course, I think that's why they're trying to take away they're trying to cube us, they're trying to square us, they're trying to corner us through all these ugly buildings, make everything flat and ugly, and basically, take away the domes and basically take away the feminine principle, right? These are not just lines in nature, right? There's also other things in nature, and I think the controllers know exactly how to incubate our consciousness. So they devised plans to, straighten out our thoughts and make us more left-brained, and they definitely succeeded. So if there's anywhere, we should definitely have a revival of great architecture, or actually people with the technology, once the technology resurfaces, to be able to even replicate some of these beautiful buildings that are unreplicatable as of now due to the Tartarian mysteries, which right now we're doing extensive research on that as well.
Yeah, obviously you're a musician. I see your two guitars in the background. I mean, the acoustics alone and the reverberation from the arc structures, that has an impact. I mean, that must basically resonate with the crystals in our body, with the water, with the pineal gland. It's an absolutely amazing feeling. So I'm seeing this now together with your lecture in just making connections here. This is amazing. Yeah, I can see this work. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate your feedback. And if you go on innermysteries.org, one of the first posts I put on my website was about the soul in the guitar, and I wrote about how I think Santos inspired in a video. I think he was talking about the shape of the guitar and how it relates, microcosmically to, just so beautiful to think, the guitar is we were made to play the music of God, right? The music already existed, but we were made to play the music that was already there, right? God is the music. We were created to play it. Hands, manos, we're the man, the hands. We use our hands to play the music that was there, that we hear through our inner ear. And that's how music's so important. The original prophets were musicians. They took that out of the knowledge. The original prophets were all musicians, lyricists, musicians, instrumentalists, etc. The true shamans, the prophets. And music was always important to the king and the priest, and ancient times, the temples, and sound waves and vibration can levitate things, just like ancient Taoist masters could levitate huge boulders with horns and stuff like that. And riding that sound wave of Om and that inner sound between your ears is the most powerful mystery ever taught. That's the lost word of Freemasonry. The inner hum, the inner word is the inner buzz. That's why the B is a symbol. Is the buzzing sound in your ears is not titness. It is the Holy Spirit. And so, yeah. Oh yeah, innermysteries.org. Please check it out. I do a lot of writings on there. Check out the soul and guitar post. Scroll all the way down. Check out the YouTube channel Eclectic Mysteries. Christopher Campbell. Yeah, and if you have any questions, feel free to just shoot them my way. I'm open to answering any questions. And yeah, the next stage, we'll go into the next stage of the alchemical process. Once we finish all 12 stages, we'll go into Hermetic Mysteries. Once we finish Hermetic Mysteries, we'll finish with Mysteries of the Afterlife and Astral Dimension. And then we'll move on to the Celestial Mysteries. And then we'll learn some cool techniques along the way. So this will be the second alchemical stage. We'll move on to the third. And then we'll time it right so that when Aries approaches, we all start off on a good start through learning specific meditations. And also, everyone who's doing, everyone during this process should have a dream journal and just to write down any dreams that they have during this process. So.
Thank you so much, Christopher.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Christopher. Take good care. Bye for now.